Ambassador Adefuye has covered a lot of grounds on the issue that relates to Africa. And at the risk of trying to repeat what she has said, what I just try to do is to fill some gaps and maybe dwell more on some issues that relate to Nigeria, my country, and to some of our regional organizations. Let me start by saying that between Africa, Nigeria, like my country, Nigeria, and Africa in general, there's a community of interest in terms of what the way we want the world to be. There is our geopolitical interests relate exactly to that of the US, in the sense that in most African countries, we want a world that is free of nuclear proliferation. We want a world that is free of terrorism. A world in which tenets of democracy, human rights, rule of law, accountability, responsible governance triumph. And a world which features more of cooperation, collaboration, as distinct from confrontation. And so, for us in Africa, our global strategic interests relate exactly very well with that of the US, and therefore we are along the same path. Although I must admit that there are certain differences and challenges in the style of implementation, and that's what Ambassador Adefuye was alluding to. There are certain problems occasionally, not too much, particularly with this administration, in the style of implementation. Africans and Americans, we want the same type of world to survive. But then we will prefer to be discussed with, to be consulted, and not to be dictated to. We prefer, yes, we are developing, and we still need a lot of assistance. We always need a lot of assistance. But then, as we always say, in Africa, there's something called dignity in poverty. We may be poor, but we guard jealously our sovereignty, our independence, and want to be treated as respected members of the international community. I must say that in the past couple of years, there's been a tendency towards that, and we are very grateful for that. Especially since the Obama administration came aboard. It was President Obama who did say in Accra that what Africa needs are not strong men, but strong institutions. Institutions that support democracy, human rights, rule of law, governance, and accountability. And that the US government has been doing all that it could to support that. And for that, Africa remains grateful. So what we are saying in terms of partnership, of course, maybe I should have started as a historian to say that between us and the US, there's virtually no alternative anyway, between we Africans and the US. Because in the United States, that has the largest number of Africans outside the continent. And our fate is also tied to that of the US. There is that bond, that very strong fraternal bond between Africans at home and the diaspora. For us, as Peter Tosh used to say, no matter where you come from, no matter what nationality, as long as you're a black man, you're an African. So as far as we are concerned, we are interested in what is happening in the US. From the point of view, we find that our own brothers, our own kith and kin are an integral part of that community. And they are able to relate and work well and live well because of the certain fundamental principles in the American Constitution, recognizing the principle of equality, human rights, rule of law, equality before the law. And so events happening in the US are of interest to us, and I'm sure the events happening in Africa are of interest to the Americans. Of course, when events do happen in Africa, they have a natural effect on the events happening here. In fact, the civil rights movement, progress in civil rights movements have been directly linked to the progress of decolonization of Africa. And so when things are right in Africa, it affects our brothers and sisters here. And so it's naturally incumbent on us in Africa to do it right, so that the image, the leverage, the status of our brothers in the diaspora are respected. And so we are very happy with the state of relations, as Ambassador Mitiku has said, that's going on. And the emphasis, as she said, is no longer the relationship between the colonizing power and the colonized. It's not that of master-servant. It's now that between two partners who happen to be on different sides of the globe, but cooperating together, knowing fully well that the world is only a global village. Events in one part of the world affects the other. And like I always joke with my colleagues in the State Department, I always told them, you guys, you simply have no alternative than to cooperate with us in Africa, to partner with us to ensure that we are developed. Because whether you like it or not, in spite of all that you have, you close your borders, build walls ever there. If there is poverty in Africa, you will find a way here, no matter what you do. All the borders, they can never prevent Africans from coming here. And you know the important thing, when we come here, we reproduce, and we just swell your population. So it's in the interest of the United States. We swell your population, and we will just, all your facilities will be overtaken. So it's in the interest of the United States to support us in Africa, to partner with us, to ensure that the benefits you enjoy here, we also enjoy them in Africa. I'm not complaining, but I'm only saying that I'm seeing an encouraging pattern that has been the trend in the past couple of years. I want to see more and more of that. Now, like I said, if there are problems at all, it's in the manner and style of implementation. And these are very restricted. And we have difference of opinion as to the overall principle, overall policy is quite okay. Nobody's quarreling with that, particularly in the last couple of years, whether Bush or Obama. But there are problems we have difference of opinion about the style of implementation. Yes, the American governments are very much concerned about crisis in Africa, AIDS, lack of development, corruption, and everything. But the one thing we would like to see for our American colleagues is that we really want you to assist us in developing our own institutions. We would rather prefer that you work with our own institutions rather than people coming there. In the moment of crisis, it's always said that African solutions are preferred to extra African solutions because we know where the shoe pinches, we know the origin of the crisis. But then what we want you to do is to give us strategic support, to give us training, to give us equipment, to give us encouragement, so that we can be able to solve this problem. We would like you to work, for instance, in West Africa, we would like you to work directly through ECOWAS, Economic of West African States, which has a whole protocol by which it deals with conflicts in West Africa, by which it tries to encourage democracy, by which it tries to encourage economic integration, by which it sits together to have a joint approach to problems of trade and commerce in the region. We want an expert from the US to advise us in terms of our dealing with the EPA, for instance, European Partnership Agreement, rather than seeing some Europeans going in and trying to separate some African governments, separating us and having separate deals with African countries. Whereas what we want is a collective attitude on the part of Africa to such issues. So we want that kind of thing. So the point I make is that overall is good, but let us encourage us to develop and strengthen our institutions. Give us training, give us equipment, give us personnel, and assist us to do this. And when ECOWAS or SADC or AU takes a decision, particularly by trying to isolate a member country that's not doing what is right, support us in isolating that, in adding punitive measures to ensure that our rights are protected. I was very happy with the attitude of the US government on the last issue of Côte d'Ivoire. And it was a case in which ECOWAS as an organization said that Ouattara won the election and Gbagbo did not want to leave. But in a kind of the representing of what Obama is saying, soft power diplomacy, it was able to intervene to ensure that the erring African country that went to put a naval boat on the shores of Cote d'Ivoire was privately persuaded to withdraw, and then the rules of democracy, telling the principle of democracy, triumphed. That is the kind of thing we want from America. I want many more of such to continue. In that, when we have problems and we meet as organization, as a regional organization to provide a solution, we want the Americans to continue to be with us as they have been in the past couple of months. Now, the thing, like I said, about partnership is no longer a question of master servant, and in any case, we are fully independent. And the good thing is that there are certain fundamental principles of governance in the world that transcend national frontiers. The principle of democracy, human rights, rule of law, equality of all nations, and equality of all human beings are such that they transcend national frontiers. And that is what we tell our African brothers. When we come and say, oh, Europeans are bringing democracy, shut up. What is democracy? Democracy is not strange to Africa. It started from Africa. And there are certain fundamental principles that are universal. And no longer you say the doctrine of non-intervention in internal affairs of member states. We have gone beyond that. That is why we changed OA, the Organization of African Unity, to African Unity, to African Union. And then we changed the doctrine of non-intervention in internal affairs of member states to mean now to be non-tolerance of human rights violation of non-democratic practices in any member state. It is now the rule that if you are not democratic, if anybody takes over power militarily in any African country, AU will not recognize it, it will not be allowed to be a member of that organization. ECOWAS don't understand, will not allow it. Commonwealth will not allow it. We are now pleading, we are now making efforts to tell the United Nations that if anybody wakes up in the morning and say, fellow citizens, I have taken over power, do not allow them to sit at the United Nations. And that's where we can make sure that democracy thrives. So, we have some renegade African leaders who still, they are not working on AU, they are not working on ECOWAS. We want the US to help us, to let them know that even at the UN, you don't want them. And then there will be additional pressure to be put on them. So, let me say again, US is doing very well, but we want more effort because there are still many of these people we call sit-tight leaders in Africa. You see the State House, we call them career heads of government. It's so bad that not only are they sitting tight and not conducting elections and being there for too long, or conduct phony elections. They conduct and say they win by 99.999%. That will force bias. But then there are many of them. It's even bad that they are trying, some of them are even trying now, not only to sit there for too long, but also planning to have their children succeed them. We're having what we have a democratic monarchy or monarchical democracy, whatever you want to call it. So what we are trying to do is that there is an effort on the part of Africa to ensure that this type of people are not encouraged. Yes, in the US strategic interest, the irony of this is that many of them are oil producing, and I know you Americans want oil. Please come with us in an effort to send these people packing. Stop buying their oil. Stop buying their oil. Stop buying relating to them, and let them embarrass them at the UN so that our struggle to make Africa democratic will fully realize. For the simple reason that democracy is the foundation for meaningful development. If you don't have democracy, that can't be meaningful. We believe that, and we want you to support us to do that, regardless of the fact that you need oil from them. There are many of them. So, but at the same time, I want to, like I said, the picture is good. If I want to narrow it to my country, there have been so many actions that are taking place in my country in the past couple of years, and which tended to show that, We need the Americans, and we have been very good partners. There are more. The only place, the next place where we find Nigerians, most Nigerians, is in the US. Up to today, by today, we have more than 5 million Nigerians in the US. And I can tell you, like I always tell my fellow Nigerians, for every Nigerian you see, there are 2 others who are hiding. You can't see them. So we don't have accurate figures. We don't have accurate figures. And so, because of that, and so the relation with the US is very important to us. And because of that, we were able to negotiate and agree on what we call a binational commissioner agreement with the United States. Last year, one of the first things I was very happy to do was to watch my Secretary of Government and Head of Service initiate a binational commissioner, sign a binational agreement with the United States of America on 4 major issues. First one was what we call transparency, governance, and integrity. It has to do with rule of law, good governance, fight against corruption, and essentially the preparation for the last elections. The US did very, very well with us on the last elections, and must acknowledge the collaboration with the United States in the election preparations, and were able to conduct a very good and credible election, which has won international acclaim. Now the next item is we call Niger Delta and regional security. As anybody who's familiar with Nigeria would know, we have had problems in the oil producing areas of Niger Delta. And so what we're now trying to do is to try and train those militants who went into armed conflict to be able to feed back into what they were doing before. And many of them are being trained in US institutions here. And these other agreements signed by respective Niger Delta governments with many US institutions. But the original security, United States, that has to do with the Gulf Coast, the security along the Gulf Coast in West Africa. The US, in pursuit of that, transferred to the Nigerian government a US naval ship, USS Chase, which we renamed NNS Aradu, NNS Thunder, to enable us to patrol the Gulf Coast, enable us to check the activities of the oil bunkers, and to be able to ensure the supply of oil to the US, we being the 4th largest supplier of crude oil to the United States. The third one is on energy and investment, oil and gas, power and all that. Many US companies are now in Nigeria, helping us to increase the power generation and distribution capacity. And because we've been having problems with power, and many US companies are there now, because it's a private sector driven initiative. And then the 4th one is agriculture and food security. The aim is to mechanize and commercialize agriculture. To this end, the Nigerian embassy here will be holding an investor forum on agriculture, sometimes added in January, by which we intend to involve private business in America with private business in Nigeria to have joint projects to help us to mechanize and commercialize agriculture. It's all going very well. No problems at all. No problems at all. The only problem we have is your policemen here. There are not too many Americans there. Your policemen and your law enforcement agents here. When any black person commits an offense and is interviewed and is seen to not be an African American, they assume straight away it's in Nigeria. Yeah. Because we are so many. we are only 150 million people, and like I always say, 1 out of every 6 Africans is in Nigeria, and 1 out of every 10 black persons in the world is in Nigeria. So I can't blame the rookie when he says I will just assume this in Nigeria. They send notices to us when somebody from the country is arrested on offense. I've seen many names that are not Nigerian. This one is only Nigerian now. Because when they asked him, he could not, they knew there's an African American, they just said the Nigerian. And there are many Nigerians who have naturalized, holding the American passport. But because when he commits an offense, he's a Nigerian. If he wins the Nobel Prize, he's an American. And we always, but all the same, everything is fine. We have no problem. And the thing is, and I know Angola and South Africa also has binational commission agreements with the United States. But the thing is that the ambassador has commented on the fact that there's now a very good approach, very good attitude on the part of the US, realizing that the world is a global village. And that there has to be peace in Africa because there can be peace in the world. There's a special emphasis on Nigeria. Some state power officials told me that if there has to be peace in Africa, in the world, there has to be peace in Africa. And if there has to be peace in Africa, that peace must start from Nigeria. Like I always tell them, we're so many in the country, God forbid Nigeria disintegrating. By the time we go out and swear the whole of Africa, there will be no place in Africa for anybody to live. So there is that special emphasis, special attention to Nigeria by the US, which we are cherished, which we like. And more so, we had this recent bombing episode. And I know some of you will ask questions, but the point, let me just say straight away that what is happening is that there are some elements in Nigeria, in the Nigerian political class, who do not believe, do not want to accept the reality of President Goodluck Jonathan's presidency. Just as in your country, in America here, there are some people who, up to today, they cannot accept the reality of an Obama presidency. When they wake up in the morning and they see one slim black man with the seat of the ST, they keep asking themselves, where were we when this happened? And it's the kind of thing that happens to some people in Nigeria. They don't obey Goodluck Jonathan as president, they just can't understand. But then, like the ambassador said, there's what we call a paradigm shift in Nigeria. There's a paradigm shift in Nigeria, a paradigm shift in Africa. With regards to the way things are done, we are now prepared to do things the right way. Those bad guys who used to mislead us, they are gone. We now, in Africa, want to take a rightful place in the world to be a respected member of the international community. And we know that the world is a global village. We cannot do this alone. We need the support of the industrialized nations. And we do know, we also do realize that what industrialized nations are demanding is that there must be accountability, there must be good governance, there must be responsible way of doing things. And that's what we are trying to do in Africa. What we demand from you, the Americans, is that help us to do this. There are still some sick, tight leaders who just think they'll be going the way they are going. Look at the way Ambassador Bernard is looking at me, asked me to stop. I will soon stop. Don't worry. Let me just end. Look at what is happening in Libya now. The guy who's there, Gaddafi, like I was telling some people, even if he was dishing out gold to everybody every day, the fact that you as a person, you have been disturbed for 42 years, you simply have no reason to resist attempt and say you should change. So for us, that was why in Nigeria, we recognize transitional government, and even though we are criticized some other African countries, we said, as far as our national interest is concerned, as far as our principles are concerned, that guy should go. That guy, and that's what we are saying. It's true that, and you see why we always we see in the past 1 year, the things that have come to be voting around the United States on major issues. On the Iran nuclear bill, we supported the United States. On the issue of nuclear no-fly zone for Libya, we supported the United States. For the simple reason that these are measures designed to achieve our own strategic global objectives, and it happens to collaborate, to agree with that of the US. And so basically, for us in Africa, we have no problem with the US. We like the idea of partnership, but tell some of the officials who want to talk down to Africans, we are not going to accept that. There's dignity in poverty. But for basically, we are in agreement, we appreciate what you are doing. All we want more of it. Thank you very much.